Good Friday morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for this Friday, April 5th. Looking at observed precipitation the past 7 days, a slightly drier than normal scenario after a fairly wet winter and spring. We had our most significant precipitation across northern and eastern portions of Utah and parts of southern or southeastern Idaho and western Wyoming. Little precipitation across most of the rest of the Great Basin, a little bit up into the mountains of northern Nevada. You can see percentages of normal here on the right-hand side of the screen, and below normal, finally, for the southern portion of our area, as well as parts of the central mountains of Idaho. New snowfall the past 24 hours. You can see here just light amounts across some of the higher terrain of just about all areas, but the heaviest amounts across the Uintas and parts of northern Utah. These yellowish amounts, anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of snow. On the right-hand side, snow depth, you can see there's been a major reduction in snow cover area-wise because the lower elevations, which have had solid snow cover for the past 7 months, much of that below about 5,000 feet has melted off. But still, once you get above 5, but especially above 6,000 feet on higher, still significant amounts, 40 to 60, maybe higher inches of snow across the higher terrain of the Wasatch, the highest terrain of the mountains of Nevada. The Sierra Nevada, of course, has very deep snowpack, as does the mountain ranges of central Idaho and into western Wyoming, into the Tetons. That'll continue into the spring. In terms of our snow water equivalent, quite wet. That snowfall that has fallen, it's not only the depth, but it's holding a lot more water than normal because a lot of the storms came in a little bit warmer. So you can see that it's holding water about 140 to 160% of normal across Utah, near normal across western Wyoming, above normal significantly across the mountains of Nevada. And even down here into central Arizona, they've had their healthiest snowpack in quite some time. Now, looking at the satellite imagery, we see our next storm system coming in, so no hint of high pressure. We continue in a very stormy El Nino-like pattern. Low pressure, semi-permanent in the Gulf of Alaska, bringing in wave after wave. So, again, no real stagnation, good horizontal transport winds, good vertical mixing, and occasional precipitation. So for this afternoon, we see this blotch of green covering just about all of the Great Basin here, highlighted in green. On the right-hand side, most areas here in the white indicating excellent overall dispersion, both vertically and horizontally. We break them down here. Transport winds on the left, predominantly out of the southwest, with increasing speeds across northwestern Nevada. And mixing heights here on the right-hand side, excellent vertical mixing. The yellows about 4,000 feet above ground level, oranges and reds 6,000 to 8,000 feet. Now for Saturday, moisture is pushed back into far northern areas here, light precipitation, but another wave pushing to the Pacific Northwest. On the right-hand side, again, most areas in the white with excellent overall dispersion. And similar story, strongest winds across the western areas of the Great Basin and also a bit across eastern Utah, some lighter winds across central areas. Again, vertical mixing heights several thousand feet above ground level. On Sunday, similar story, storminess plowing into northern California, into Oregon, and into Idaho. Areas to the south drying out briefly, but again, good vertical mixing. Transport winds strongest again across northwestern areas, but good transport wind flow everywhere, good vertical mixing everywhere. Utah's clearing index Friday, Saturday, Sunday showing excellent overall dispersion. So if your fuels are not too wet to burn, you should have some excellent dispersion conditions as we go through the weekend. 3-day precipitation accumulation heaviest across the mountains of central Idaho. These bluish to purple shades indicate a ½ inch to 1.5 inches of melted precipitation, and in the highest elevations that could be over a foot of snow, somewhat lighter amounts, but still wetting rains across a good portion of Utah and Nevada into western Wyoming and a little bit into the Arizona Strip as well. On Monday, storminess starts shifting a bit further south into northern Nevada, parts of northern Utah. Again, on the right-hand side, excellent overall dispersion. On Tuesday, a trough of low pressure starts carving itself out, so deepening storm system, more precipitation where you see this area of green covering about 80% of the Great Basin, excluding far southeastern areas for the time being. And you can see the excellent overall dispersion with west to southwest wind flow. On Wednesday, again, lingering clouds and showers across a good portion of the area. Another low pressure system dropping down into the Pacific Northwest. As good as it gets in terms of ventilation or dispersion. On Thursday, a deepening storm system over California, bringing up more moisture into Nevada. Eventually will cover Utah and into Idaho and Wyoming. So again, lots of clouds, but lots of overall good dispersion over the next 7 days. Precipitation accumulation, this is just days 4 through 5. So Monday afternoon through Wednesday afternoon, heaviest amounts here across the highest terrain of Utah into southern Idaho and western Wyoming, where the bluish shades indicating anywhere from a ½ inch to 1.5 inches of precipitation. Again, a foot of heavy wet snow possible across the highest terrain, adding to that high water equivalent. And the pattern continues on the 8 to 14 day outlook, April 12th through the 18th, a significantly cooler than normal signal for just about all the Great Basin, and wetter than normal, especially for the southern 2/3 of the Great Basin. So that'll continue. Our wet winter continues into a wet spring. This concludes our briefing. We continue these on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. During the prescribed burn season, we transition into fire season briefing sometime towards the middle to latter part of May. Have a great weekend.